Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! As the late-day light sliced into his tiny studio through aged Venetian blinds, Wesley Parker hovered above his laptop, feverishly typing away at his latest coding gig. Distracted, his gaze tore away from the screen as his phone buzzed across the table from him. His sister, Emma, was the only person who never seemed to understand the limits his anxieties placed on him. The drain of talking, even to her, was something he was rarely up for shouldering. Nevertheless, he answered, voice frail. Hey, Em. What can I do for you? I'm having a complete crisis. Emma's voice carried the distinctive blend of panic and determination that characterized most of their conversations. Wesley pinched the bridge of his nose. What happened? Remember Olivia's wedding this weekend? My +1 just canceled. Some nonsense about a work emergency. I need someone there with me. All my college friends will be watching, and I can't show up alone after bragging about bringing someone. Em, you know I don't do weddings. Wesley swallowed hard, the mere thought of a room filled with strangers making his chest tighten. All those people, the small talk. Please, Wes, I'm desperate here. Her voice softened. You're my brother. I need you. Wesley closed his eyes, remembering all the times Emma had been there for him, helping through panic attacks in high school, standing up to bullies who targeted his quiet nature, supporting him when he dropped out of in-person university for remote courses. I can't, Em. The thought of being surrounded by all those people, everyone staring. A moment of silence passed before Emma spoke again, her voice tentative. What if you went as Kaya? The question hung in the air between them. Wesley's breath caught in his throat. Kaya. His alter ego, his escape, his secret self that only Emma knew about. For years, in the privacy of his apartment, Wesley occasionally transformed into Kaya. It had started in college as an experiment, a way to express a different side of himself. Dressing as Kaya made him feel confident, powerful, free from the social anxiety that plagued Wesley. But Kaya had never ventured into the public eye, never interacted with strangers. You want me to go to your best friend's wedding as Kaya? Wesley's voice dropped to a whisper. Think about it, Wes. As Kaya, you've always said you feel different, more confident. No one there knows you. It could be like an acting exercise. You'd be playing a character. No expectations, no history. Wesley ran a hand through his brown hair, considering. As Kaya, he did feel different. Could talk to people without the familiar knot of anxiety. Could smile at strangers without feeling like he might shatter.
I don't have anything appropriate to wear,
he offered weakly.
I'll help you find something. Please, Wes. I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate.
The silence stretched between them as Wesley weighed his options. Disappointing his sister versus stepping into a terrifying social situation. But as Kaya, maybe it would be bearable. Fine, he said finally. But on one condition. I go entirely as Kaya. No one can know, not even Olivia. Emma's squeal of delight blasted through the phone. Deal! You're a lifesaver, Wes. We'll go shopping tomorrow for a dress. The wedding's on Saturday, so we have 3 days to prepare. After hanging up, Wesley sat motionless in his chair, stomach churning with a mixture of dread and strange excitement. What had he just agreed to? The boutique Emma selected was mercifully quiet on Thursday morning. The sales associate, a woman with sleek black hair and an elegant pantsuit, didn't bat an eye when Emma explained they were shopping for her friend who couldn't make it but had provided measurements. "This one," Emma said, pulling out a floor-length emerald satin dress with delicate silver beading across the bodice. "It would look amazing with your skin tone." Wesley touched the material gingerly. "Isn't it a bit much?" "It's a formal wedding, Wes. Everyone will be dressed up." Emma checked the price tag and winced. "Consider it my birthday present to you for the next 5 years." 3 hours later, they left with the emerald dress, a pair of silver heels that Emma insisted were reasonably comfortable for beginners, and various accessories and undergarments Wesley couldn't bring himself to examine too closely in the store. Back in Wesley's apartment, Emma hung the dress carefully in his closet. "We should do a trial run tomorrow. I can come over and help with makeup." Wesley nodded, a lump forming in his throat. "What if someone figures it out?" Emma squeezed his shoulder. "No one will. Your features are already pretty delicate, and with the right makeup and your wig, you'll look completely different. Besides, no one there knows Wesley except me." After Emma left, Wesley opened his closet and stared at the emerald dress. He reached out, touching the satin material, imagining himself wearing it in front of hundreds of strangers. The familiar panic began to rise, but he closed his eyes and pictured himself as Kaya. Confident, elegant, unafraid. Maybe, just maybe, he could pull this off. Saturday arrived with alarming speed. Wesley woke early, stomach knotted with anxiety. He showered meticulously, shaving carefully and applying the scented lotion Emma had insisted on. When she arrived at his apartment at noon, he was sitting on his bed in a bathrobe, staring at the dress. "Having second thoughts?" Emma asked, setting down her makeup case. "About 1,000 of them," Wesley admitted. "Too late now," she said cheerfully, unzipping her makeup bag. "The ceremony starts at 4, and we need at least 3 hours to get you ready. Let's start with the foundation." The transformation was painstaking. Emma worked with careful precision, applying layers of makeup that somehow made Wesley's face look softer, his cheekbones higher, his eyes larger. The brown wig came next, long, wavy locks that fell past his shoulders, styled in elegant curls. "The key is the contouring," Emma explained as she blended along his jawline. "And the falsies, of course." She gestured to the eyelashes that made Wesley's eyes look twice their normal size. When Emma finally stepped back, satisfaction in her eyes, Wesley hardly recognized the person in the mirror. Kaya stared back at him, elegant, feminine, with warm brown eyes enhanced by subtle eyeshadow and those impossible lashes. "Now, for the final piece," Emma said, helping him step into the emerald dress. The material whispered against his skin as she zipped it up. The dress hugged his waist, which had been cinched with specially purchased undergarments, and flowed to the floor in a graceful sweep of satin. The silver heels added 3 inches to his height, making him feel strangely powerful despite the initial wobbling. Emma fastened a delicate silver necklace around his neck and stepped back. "My God," she whispered. "You look incredible." Wesley, no, Kaya, stared at her reflection. The emerald dress caught the light as she turned, the beading across the bodice sparkling. Her brown hair framed a face that looked nothing like Wesley's anxious expression. Kaya looked confident, beautiful even. "Ready?" Emma asked, checking her watch. "We should leave now to make it on time." Kaya took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "Ready." The church was decorated with cascading white flowers and twinkling lights. Kaya kept her eyes down as she followed Emma to their seats, conscious of every step in the unfamiliar heels. Her hands, with their carefully manicured nails, clutched a small silver purse containing only lip gloss, a phone, and emergency cash. "Stop looking so terrified," Emma whispered as they sat down. "You look amazing. No one's going to figure it out." Kaya nodded, forcing herself to relax her shoulders. She glanced around the church, noting with relief that no one was paying her any particular attention. She was just another guest, anonymous in the crowd. The ceremony began with soft music. Olivia appeared at the entrance, radiant in white lace, and Kaya momentarily forgot her anxiety as she watched her sister's best friend walk down the aisle. The groom waited at the altar, his face lighting up as he saw his bride approach. Beside the groom stood the best man, tall and broad-shouldered in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. His dark hair was neatly styled, and even from a distance, Kaya could see his striking features. Strong jawline, straight nose, and a smile that transformed his entire face as he watched his friend's happiness. The ceremony passed in a blur of vows and music. Before Kaya knew it, they were following the crowd to the reception, held in an elegant ballroom decorated with more flowers and twinkling lights. "That wasn't so bad, right?" Emma asked as they found their assigned table. "Not yet," Kaya admitted. "Though these shoes are already killing me." Emma laughed. "Beauty is pain, sister dear. Now I need to go congratulate Olivia. Will you be okay for a few minutes?" Kaya nodded, though her heart rate increased at the thought of being left alone. "I'll be fine." As Emma disappeared into the crowd, Kaya took a sip of water, focusing on her breathing. She could do this. Just a few hours, and then she could retreat back to the safety of Wesley's quiet apartment. "Excuse me, but I believe this seat is open." The deep voice startled her. Kaya looked up to find the best man standing beside the empty chair next to her, his dark eyes meeting hers with unexpected intensity. "Oh, yes, of course," she managed, her voice pitched higher than Wesley's natural tone, just as she had practiced with Emma. "Thanks." He sat down with easy grace. "I'm Daniel, by the way. Daniel Mercer." He extended his hand. "Kaya," she replied, taking his hand briefly. His palm was warm against hers.
Kaya,
he repeated, as if testing the name.
Beautiful name. Are you a friend of Olivia's or Ryan's?
Olivia, Kaya said. Well, sort of. I'm Emma Parker's +1, actually. Emma is Olivia's friend from college. Daniel's face lit with recognition. Emma! Of course! She's mentioned in about half the embarrassing stories Olivia tells about her college days. He smiled, and Kaya found herself noticing the small crinkles around his eyes. So, how do you know Emma? Kaya hesitated, realizing she and Emma hadn't fully prepared a backstory. We met through work, she improvised. I'm in tech, like Emma. Another computer genius, huh? Daniel's smile widened. I can barely manage to update my phone without something going wrong. The self-deprecating comment made Kaya relax slightly. It's not that complicated once you understand the basics, she said, surprised at how easily the words came. As Wesley, he would have been a stammering mess by now. Maybe you could teach me sometime, Daniel said, his eyes holding hers a moment longer than necessary. Was he flirting with her? Kaya felt a flush rise to her cheeks and was grateful for the makeup Emma had applied so meticulously. Before she could respond, Emma returned, her eyebrows rising slightly as she noticed Daniel. "I see you've met our best man," she said, sitting down on Kaya's other side. "Just getting acquainted," Daniel replied, his attention still on Kaya. "Your friend was about to explain the mysteries of technology to me." Emma laughed. "Careful! Once Kaya starts talking about coding, she won't stop for hours." The conversation flowed surprisingly easily after that. Daniel asked questions about Kaya's work, genuinely interested in her, carefully edited explanations of Wesley's coding projects. When dinner was served, he made sure her wine glass was refilled and complimented her dress, noting how the emerald color brought out highlights in her brown hair. By the time the dancing started, Kaya had almost forgotten her initial anxiety. The 3 glasses of wine certainly helped, creating a pleasant warmth that made everything seem less frightening. "Dance with me?" Daniel asked, as the band struck up a slow song. He stood and offered his hand. Kaya froze, panic flooding back. Dancing hadn't been part of the plan. "I'm not much of a dancer," she demurred. "Neither am I," Daniel admitted. "But it's tradition for the best man to dance with the most beautiful woman at the reception, and I'd hate to break tradition." Emma kicked her under the table and gave an encouraging nod. "All right," Kaya said, placing her hand in his. "But I warned you about my dancing skills." Daniel led her to the dance floor, one hand settling respectfully on her waist as the other held hers. He guided her gently, keeping the steps simple.
"See? Not so terrible,"
he murmured near her ear. The closeness of him, the subtle scent of his cologne, the warmth of his hand through the satin of her dress made Kaya's heart race.
"You're being kind,"
she replied, intensely aware of how her body fit against his.
"I'm being honest,"
Daniel said.
"You're the most interesting person I've met in a long time, Kaya."
The way he said her name sent an unexpected thrill through her. For a moment, Kaya wasn't a disguise or a character. She felt real, complete, as if she had always existed instead of being created for a single evening. They danced for 3 songs before Kaya's feet began to protest the silver heels in earnest. Daniel noticed her wince.
"Shoes giving you trouble?"
he asked, sympathetically. "Beauty is pain," Kaya quoted Emma with a small smile.
"Let's sit for a bit,"
he suggested, leading her not back to their table, but to a quieter area near the terrace doors. The cool evening air was a relief after the warmth of the dance floor. Daniel disappeared briefly, returning with a glass of water for her and another wine for himself.
"Better?"
Kaya nodded, taking a sip of water. "Much, thank you."
"So, Kaya,"
Daniel began, leaning slightly closer.
"tell me something that isn't about work. What do you do when you're not coding?"
The question caught her off guard. What did Wesley do? Work, mostly. Occasional video games. Nothing that seemed interesting enough to share. "I read a lot," she said finally. "Science fiction, mainly, and I paint sometimes." The last part wasn't entirely untrue. Wesley had taken a painting class in college and sometimes still dabbled.
"A painter and a coder,"
Daniel said, looking impressed. "Left brain and right brain working together. What do you paint?" "Landscapes, mostly," Kaya improvised, remembering the single landscape Wesley had completed in that college class. "I find it relaxing."
"I'd love to see your work sometime,"
Daniel said, his voice softening. The implication was clear. He wanted to see her again, after tonight. Panic fluttered in Kaya's chest. This wasn't supposed to happen. This was supposed to be one night, one masquerade, and then back to being Wesley. I'm not very good, she deflected.
I doubt that,
Daniel replied.
You strike me as someone who excels at whatever they attempt.
The conversation continued, moving from art to books to travel. Daniel told stories about his work as an architect, describing a restoration project he was passionate about. Kaya found herself genuinely interested, asking questions and laughing at his dry observations about difficult clients. As the evening progressed, they moved back to the dance floor for slower songs, sat with Emma and other guests during faster numbers, and even ventured onto the terrace to admire the garden lights. Throughout it all, Daniel stayed close, his attention focused entirely on Kaya. Emma caught her eye during a moment when Daniel was congratulating the groom, raising her eyebrows in a silent question. Kaya gave a small, helpless shrug. She hadn't planned for this, hadn't expected to enjoy herself, hadn't anticipated Daniel. When the band announced the last dance of the evening, Daniel found her again. "One more?" he asked, his hand extended. Kaya nodded, allowing him to lead her onto the dance floor. This time, he held her closer, his hand warm against the small of her back.
I'm glad Emma's original +1 canceled,
he murmured. How did you know about that? Kaya asked, surprised. Daniel smiled.
Olivia mentioned it. Apparently, Emma was in quite a state about showing up alone.
Well, I'm glad I could help, Kaya said carefully.
I'm glad too,
Daniel replied, his eyes serious.
Meeting you has been the highlight of this whole wedding.
The sincerity in his voice made Kaya's heart contract painfully. This wasn't fair to him. He thought he was dancing with a woman named Kaya, not Wesley in makeup and a wig. As the song ended, Daniel kept hold of her hand.
I know this is forward, he said, but I'd really like to see you again, Kaya. Could I have your number?
The moment Kaya had been dreading had arrived. She stood frozen, mind racing for an excuse, an explanation, anything that would let her escape without hurting him. She began, but nothing followed. Daniel's confident expression faltered slightly. Too forward? No, it's not that, Kaya said. It's just complicated.
I can do complicated,
he replied, a small smile returning.
At least, give me a chance.
Emma appeared at Kaya's elbow, sensing her distress.
Sorry to interrupt, but we need to head out, Kaya. Early flight tomorrow, remember?
Kaya shot her sister a grateful look. Right, the flight. I almost forgot. Daniel looked between them. Flight? Kaya's just visiting for the weekend, Emma explained smoothly. She lives in Seattle.
Seattle,
Daniel repeated, his face falling slightly.
That is complicated.
I'm sorry, Kaya said, and meant it. Tonight was unexpected, in the best way. Daniel nodded slowly, then reached into his pocket for his phone.
Take my number at least, in case you're ever back in town, or if you want to talk about coding or painting or anything, really.
The hope in his eyes made refusal impossible. Kaya pulled out her phone, Wesley's phone, with the background changed and notifications disabled, and added Daniel's contact information.
I should walk you out,
Daniel offered, as Emma made a discreet exit. That's not necessary, Kaya said quickly. Emma's waiting, and I should say goodbye to Olivia first.
Of course.
Daniel hesitated, then leaned forward and kissed her cheek, his lips warm against her skin.
I meant what I said, Kaya. I hope I hear from you.
With that, he stepped back, allowing her to make her escape. Kaya found Emma waiting near the exit, eyes wide with curiosity. "What was that all about?" Emma demanded as they hurried to her car. "He asked for my number," Kaya said, collapsing into the passenger seat and immediately removing the silver heels with a groan of relief. "God, these are torture devices." "And did you give it to him?" Emma asked, starting the car. "He gave me his. I didn't know what to say, Em." Emma glanced at her as they pulled away from the venue. "You like him?" It wasn't a question. Kaya stared out the window, watching the wedding venue recede in the distance, along with Daniel and the strange, wonderful evening. "It doesn't matter," she said finally. "I'm not really Kaya." The drive back to Wesley's apartment was quiet, both siblings lost in thought. When they arrived, Emma helped zip Kaya out of the emerald dress, remove the wig, and wash away the makeup that had transformed Wesley into someone else for a night. As Wesley emerged from the bathroom, face scrubbed clean and dressed in his comfortable gray pajamas, Emma studied him. "You look different," she observed, "even without the dress and makeup." Wesley avoided her gaze, knowing what she meant. Something had shifted during those hours as Kaya, a confidence, a sense of self he'd never fully experienced before.
"It was just for tonight,"
he said firmly, hanging up the emerald dress carefully. Kaya goes back in the closet, literally and figuratively. Emma sighed. "Wesley, I saw how you were with him, how comfortable you looked, how you laughed. When was the last time you enjoyed yourself that much with anyone?" Wesley had no answer for that. As Kaya, the social anxiety that plagued him had receded, allowing him to connect with Daniel in a way Wesley never could with strangers. "Go to bed, Em," he said instead. "It's late, and you must be tired." After Emma left, Wesley lay awake, replaying the evening. Daniel's smile, the warmth of his hand, the way he'd listened so intently to every word, the kiss on the cheek that still seemed to burn on his skin. He picked up his phone, looking at the new contact. Daniel Mercer, with the little note he'd added. "Best man with the worst dance moves." What would happen if he texted Daniel? If he tried to explain? The thought made his chest tight with anxiety. No, it was better to let the fantasy of Kaya remain just that. A beautiful evening, a perfect memory, nothing more. Wesley set his phone aside and closed his eyes, trying to ignore the strange emptiness that had settled in his chest, as if he'd lost something precious he hadn't known he wanted. 3 weeks passed. Wesley threw himself back into work, taking on extra coding projects to fill his evenings and weekends. He ignored Emma's increasingly pointed texts about a certain architect asking about her friend from Seattle. The emerald dress hung in his closet, a silent reminder of a night he was trying desperately to forget. On Friday afternoon, his phone rang with Emma's ringtone. Wesley answered reluctantly. "Before you hang up," Emma said without preamble, "I need a favor." Wesley sighed. "The last favor I did for you resulted in considerable emotional confusion, so forgive me if I'm hesitant." "It's nothing like that," Emma assured him. "I left some important work files at Olivia's apartment last weekend. I need to pick them up, but I'm stuck in a meeting that won't end before she leaves for her honeymoon tonight. Could you grab them for me? I'll text you the address. Wesley hesitated.
Can it wait until they get back?
3 weeks without those files would get me fired, Emma said. Please, Wes. You don't even have to stay. Just pick up the envelope and go. After extracting a promise that this truly was a simple favor with no hidden agendas, Wesley agreed. An hour later, he stood outside a sleek apartment building downtown, dressed in his usual jeans and navy hoodie, brown hair falling into his eyes as he examined the intercom system. He pressed the button for apartment 703, and a familiar voice answered. Hello? Wesley froze. Not Olivia's voice. Daniel's. Hello? Daniel repeated.
Who's there?
Wesley cleared his throat.
I'm here to pick up some files for Emma Parker. She said Olivia has them. Oh, sure, Daniel replied. Olivia and Ryan are finishing their packing, but I can let you up. I'm just helping with some last-minute things.
The door buzzed, and Wesley stepped into the building, heart hammering. Of all people to encounter, why did it have to be Daniel? He considered turning around and telling Emma her files would have to wait, but the elevator doors were already opening. The ride to the 7th floor felt interminable. Wesley stared at his reflection in the mirrored wall. Pale face, nervous eyes behind glasses. Nothing like the confident Kaya who had danced with the best man 3 weeks ago. Apartment 703's door opened before he could knock, revealing Daniel in casual clothes, dark jeans, and a gray Henley that emphasized his broad shoulders. Recognition was impossible, Wesley told himself. Daniel had never met Wesley, had no idea that Kaya and this nervous man in a hoodie were the same person.
Hey, you must be Emma's friend,
Daniel said, stepping back to let him in.
I'm Daniel, a friend of Ryan's. The files are on the counter.
Wesley nodded, keeping his eyes down as he entered the apartment.
Thanks. I'll just grab them and go. Emma said they're important. No rush, Daniel said easily. Olivia and Ryan are still arguing about how many pairs of shoes constitute packing light.
Despite his anxiety, Wesley felt his lips twitch. He remembered Olivia's extensive shoe collection from Emma's stories.
That could take a while,
he murmured, spotting a large manila envelope on the kitchen counter with Emma's name. As he reached for it, Daniel tilted his head, studying him with a slight frown.
Have we met before? You seem familiar.
Wesley's heart stopped.
No,
he said quickly. I don't think so. I don't get out much. Daniel continued to look at him with that puzzled expression. Are you sure? There's something about your eyes. Wesley grabbed the envelope, clutching it like a shield. Pretty sure. I should go. Emma's waiting for these.
Wait,
Daniel said, as Wesley turned toward the door.
You're Emma's brother, aren't you? Wesley?
Wesley froze, then nodded reluctantly.
Yes, that's me. Emma mentioned she had a brother who works in tech, too, Daniel said, smiling. She talked about you at the wedding.
The mention of the wedding made Wesley's face heat.
Did she? That's nice. She did, Daniel confirmed. Right after you left, actually.
Wesley's head snapped up, eyes wide.
What?
Too late, he realized his mistake. Daniel's expression changed from friendly to confused, then to stunned realization as their eyes met directly for the first time.
Oh my God,
Daniel whispered.
Kaya?
Wesley backed toward the door, panic rising.
I should go. Tell Olivia thanks for the files. Wait,
Daniel said, moving to block his path. Please, just
Wait a second.
Wesley stood frozen, clutching the envelope, unable to meet Daniel's eyes again.
It was you,
Daniel said slowly.
at the wedding.
You were Kaya. There was no point denying it. Wesley nodded once, bracing himself for anger, disgust, accusations. Instead, Daniel let out a soft laugh of disbelief.
That's why you wouldn't give me your number. Why Emma made up that story about Seattle.
Wesley forced himself to look up. Daniel wasn't angry. He looked amazed, perhaps confused, but not disgusted.
I'm sorry,
Wesley said quietly.
It wasn't supposed to. I never meant to. To what?
Daniel asked.
Dance with me? Make me laugh? Make me think about you for 3 straight weeks?
Wesley blinked.
You thought about Kaya?
Every day, Daniel admitted. I couldn't figure out why someone I'd just met had such an impact. Why I couldn't stop wondering if she'd ever call.
She wasn't real,
Wesley said, his voice barely audible.
It was just me in a dress and makeup.
Daniel studied him for a long moment.
I don't think that's true,
he said finally. The person I talked to that night, who discussed coding and painting and laughed at my terrible jokes, that person was real. Kaya or Wesley, the connection was real. Wesley shook his head. You don't understand. I can't talk to people the way Kaya did. I have social anxiety. I can barely order coffee without having a panic attack. That night, as Kaya, it was different. I felt different. Maybe that's because, as Kaya, you gave yourself permission to be a different version of yourself, Daniel suggested gently. The person underneath, the one who's intelligent and thoughtful and kind, that's you, whether you call yourself Kaya or Wesley. The apartment door opened before Wesley could respond, and Olivia appeared, looking harried. Daniel, can you help Ryan with... She stopped, noticing Wesley. Oh, hello. Are you here for Emma's files? Daniel answered before Wesley could. Yes, he was just picking them up. Wesley, Emma's brother. Olivia smiled. Nice to finally meet you. Emma talks about you all the time. Wesley managed a small smile.
Congratulations on the wedding. It was lovely.
Thanks. Were you there? I don't remember seeing you.
He couldn't make it,
Daniel interjected smoothly. But Emma showed him pictures. Olivia nodded, then turned back toward the bedroom. Ryan, if you try to pack one more gadget, I'm leaving you behind. When she disappeared, Daniel turned back to Wesley.
Can we talk? Maybe get coffee sometime?
Wesley clutched the envelope tighter.
Why would you want that?
Because I'd like to get to know you, Daniel said simply. The real you, all of you, Wesley, Kaya, whoever you are when you're comfortable and being yourself.
I don't know who that is,
Wesley admitted. Daniel smiled softly.
Maybe we could figure it out together?
The offer hung between them, frightening and exhilarating. Wesley thought about declining, about retreating to the safety of his apartment and his solitary life. But he also thought about the night of the wedding, how it had felt to connect with someone, to laugh and talk without the constant crush of anxiety.
Coffee,
Wesley said finally.
Just coffee. And I can't promise. I won't be like Kaya was. I'm not asking you to be, Daniel replied. I'd just like a chance to know the person who made that night so special, whatever name they go by, whatever they're wearing.
Wesley nodded, a tentative hope blooming in his chest.
Okay, Coffee. Daniel's smile widened. I'll text you. I still have your number after all. As Wesley left the apartment, envelope in hand, he felt lighter somehow. The emerald dress still hung in his closet, and Kaya still existed somewhere inside him, not as a disguise now, but as a part of himself he was just beginning to understand. Maybe, with time and courage and Daniel's patient smile, he could find a way to be whole, not Wesley or Kaya, but the person who existed when all the masks came off. For the first time in years, he was looking forward to finding out.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!